Hi, everybody. It is Lauren Kinghorn here for Inspiring Mompreneurs, and I'm featuring another amazing, incredible, super duper a mom entrepreneur, and her name is Christine Maziarz.
You said it
And
right. Wow.
she is your empty nest coach. Christine, over to you. Tell me about you.
I'm so excited to be here, Lauren. It's just so much fun to finally meet in person. So yay.
I know.
I help women adjust to the empty nest who have lost their identity. Being a mom is very easy to do. As somebody who homeschooled my own daughter off and on, I definitely lost mine. It's very easy to get busy being a mom. And so I was able to navigate the change as she went off to college with a lot of work, And now I help women go through that same transition, and it's so much fun.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So tell me a bit more about the homeschooling of your daughter.
What do you want to know? We did it off and on. Was there a specific angle you want on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to know how to wait. So your support systems, and you did mention, I know that you've mentioned that it wasn't that easy in terms of your closest friendship circle not really understanding your choices. So talk to me about that.
Got it. Yes. This has been a constant in my life for many things, but one is my daughter skipped a few grades of school. We homeschooled. It was never something, it's not something I was raised as a homeschooler. I had planned to do, I'm going to be a parent, I'm going to homeschool my child. I was not the kind that bakes bread and the traditional homeschooling person by any means. I have a family full of educators, so the choice to homeschool was not well received.
Sure.
We have continued. She did everything from, she did try public school, she tried kind of cyber, she did a mix, a hybrid, which was probably one of the better things for her. We did traditional homeschool, and she did actually graduate as a homeschooler in Pennsylvania, this is like one of my proudest achievements, is that we made it. She has a diploma, but she also went off to school 4 years early to college. So there was another thing that no one understood. And what I found in my life is that not always the people physically close to you are the ones who can give you the support that you need. And it was something I initially found in homeschooling, was trying to find people who understand. And then there's, even within homeschooling, you have people who unschool, you have people who are doing it for extremely religious reasons, which I was kind of somewhere in the middle. So you have to really find your tribe to support you. And it took me a while to be okay with the fact that some of my closest and best tribe members were online. And I think it's probably something that's helped me so much now, being an online entrepreneur, that I love. Yeah.
So did you try unschooling at any stage?
I was probably closer to an unschooler than I was not. Initially, I was like, it has to look like brick and mortar school in my house. And eventually I just noticed, hey, if you're into, say, horses, and that's the interest for my child, and we just dive in deep, you can manage to get in every subject by diving in deep. We just kind of grew on that. When she was really young, it was a lot of libraries. It was like hundreds of books a week out. And it kept going. By the time she was high school age, she did community college, and that was just easier because I can't teach chemistry. But everybody's is a little different, and you figure out what works for you.
Yeah, you do. Wow, that's amazing, because I've spoken to quite a number of homeschooling moms here, and they say exactly the same thing, that they all start out thinking it's got to be like school, and the moment that they realize it's not got to be like school, it gets a lot easier. And then but it normally takes people at least a year to kind of find their flow and find the right curriculum and all that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, so let's now talk about your favorite subject, your podcast. Your
Oh, I
podcast is
love my podcast.
amazing. Your
Thank
passion
you.
project. It's so stunning and so professional. So
Oh.
tell us how it all started, where the idea came from. Well, I can obviously understand exactly where the idea came from, but talk to us.
Yeah, so it's probably more like why a podcast.
Mhm.
My age range it doesn't always like A, listen to podcasts, and B, jump into them. There are some of us, but it's not, the 20 set everybody has a podcast, I feel like. But I've been an avid podcast listener for years. I mean, since forever. And I remember, actually, you mentioned homeschooling. I remember at one point my daughter was a young author and we created a podcast. It was like 2 or 3 episodes for her characters and she had done it. So like, I think that's even out still.
Wow.
So I've just always known it. And I love the fact that podcasts are free resources for people. You can listen to them while you do your chores. To me, it just makes perfect sense for mothers that once they understand how podcasts are, that yes, you have to subscribe, but guess what? That doesn't mean you have to pay. it's free. And that's like getting through that barrier, but they're wonderful. I have learned so much through podcasts. So to me, it just made sense for me when I thought about blogging. I had blogged before in past endeavors. And while I like the writing, this fits me very well because I had some voiceover training in my 20s. I was on stage. So I have all this mix of things that just fell in line to go, okay, yeah, this is the right way to do it. I have so much fun. I've met so many amazing people. I got to attend She Podcast Live in Atlanta this year. It was like the inaugural podcasting conference for women, and made great friends. It's been wonderful. It's been great.
Oh, that's so great. So now, if there's no cost involved, how do you monetize your podcast?
Yeah, so everybody does podcasts differently. My whole point of my podcast going in is to grow the know, like, trust factor, so that people, when they get to my website, they go, who is this and why would she teach me anything about empty nesting and adjusting? And yeah, you can read about it, but if I'm at 106 episodes, you can listen to me. By episode 50, you're going to know whether or not you enjoy learning from me or not. So, right? If you don't make it past episode 2, we're probably not a great fit.
Okay, so it's actually to almost market your coaching business. Is that right?
Yes, for me, it's a funnel. It's like the top of my funnel.
Okay.
Yes.
And then people come to you for coaching sessions, and that's not podcasted at all. That's private sessions.
Yeah. So I have actually a membership group that I've developed. So for a small monthly fee, you join and we do group coaching. That's funny. We did group. Why do I want to say that word?
It's gorgeous.
Group coaching. I'm going to slow down
here. It's lockdown. No groping is happening.
I know. We have been in the house for 4 months. And I have an online area where people can ask me questions. I do a monthly workshop, and only people who are in my monthly membership can then get text one-on-one coaching or hire me for coaching. Okay. So that's the way I've chosen to do it. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that I have a day job. So I need to find a way that I navigate it all until I can not have the day job.
And that is my next question. How do you navigate it all? I mean, full-time day job, the podcast, the actual coaching, and the membership site. That is a lot to take on. Does your daughter help you with any of this?
She started helping me a little bit in the beginning. She actually edited some of my earlier podcasts for me. And now I have a trusted friend who I adore, who she's my right-hand woman, and she does some editing for me. But most of it is I do it. I'm a firm believer in getting clarity on who you see yourself as in the future. And once you have that very clear, then you can start to trust your future self more than the shiny object syndrome online and the 200 experts that will have you going in different directions. So when I sat down and really tuned into her and asked, you know, okay, this is what I want to do. Like 5, 6, 10 years from now, I know where I want to be. How did I get there? And as plain as day, I hear you woke up at 4 a.m. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way. I am not waking up. And like for 2 days, I was like, not doing it. And then I really thought about it. I was like, well, I don't really want another 10 years to go by and not do this. And it is the answer. So I thought, okay, that's right. And what's funny is I didn't read the books that tell you should wake up at 4 a.m. to get that answer. And I think there are. And what's funny is once I had the answer from me, those books became clear to me. You know how it works is like suddenly I'm like, oh, I'm on the right path. I get it. But I think sometimes I say that and people think, well, that's what I can't do. Your answer would be different, whatever yours is. And that's how I do it. And
that's amazing.
I've gotten to a point where, you know how organized, I like to be organized. I have really good processes in place so that anytime I do anything, if it's something I'm going to repeat over and over, I create a process and automate as much as possible. And that's really allowed me to get to a point where I don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. every single day anymore. So that feels nice. It feels really nice.
That's amazing. And I noticed you're working 7 days a week though. So that's pretty full on.
I do, but I love what I do in this side of things. So I get a lot of energy when I'm working in Everything Your Empty Nest Coach. And I think that's the key, is to find something that you walk away with and you have energy. Sure, you have bad days, you have things that don't go as well, but as a whole, if I go a whole weekend and like take off from it, I really miss it. And I think that's important. It's also nice too, because I have the day job to step away from it too and not feel like I have to do everything tomorrow.
So, and is your plan to keep the day job, or is your plan to eventually work yourself out of the day job? Or is your boss listening and we don't really want to talk about this?
No, I have a great boss. Actually, she knows, and she's so supportive. I feel strongly in, this is who I am. And at this point, I wouldn't work for anybody who didn't support what I do outside. Like some people, they sing in their church choir, maybe not pandemic, but that's what they do. They play rugby, they watch football. This is what I do. And this is who I am. And I love it. And it serves both jobs well. So my long-term goal would, be to walk away, but I was gypped 4 years in working before my daughter went to college. So I need to work to pay for college. So until
there's that.
I have this lovely goal. It's funny because I work at a college and most people think, oh, well, she must get it for free. But silly me, I didn't get it in the right window of time. So no.
Oh no, what a pity.
So yeah. And originally I was like, I'm going to be out of here in 6 months. And now I'm like, I see the value in both. It's really nice. And in what I do, I work at a college, so I get to see all these different angles in supporting my clients. So it's fun.
That's fantastic. Yes. So, okay. And so your coaching is always on empty nest, but obviously if you're at a college, you get to meet the parents, or, is your market there, or do you not really meet the parents very often?
So my, do you mean my clientele?
Yeah.
So it's college, mostly, at my day job. Yeah, I actually I don't even see the families that often. I work in the vice president area. So I hear a lot of the things going on, and every once in a while I'll be privileged to answer the phone and talk to a parent. And actually they're kind of my fun days because I can identify with them. Like, I know mine's leaving in 10 days too. I understand there's a lot to think about right now. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So is lockdown coming to an end now in America? What's happening? She's going back to college. Okay.
Yeah. I keep saying as of right now, because Colleges, as of right now, there are schools planning on going back to campus.
Mm-hmm.
They're also switching overnight. Some are like,
Mm.
nope, we're going online. So as of this
Mm-hmm.
moment, she is scheduled to go back in 10 days.
Okay.
If when I'm driving home from her campus, I think I'll believe that she's there.
Okay.
Just because it's so volatile right now.
Yeah. And how does she feel about it?
Pretty excited. So it's her senior year. So and she's an art student. So it's a
Okay.
really tough thing to do online. She also has this pure RA position. So it's all stuff that really is difficult to do online. So she's very excited, but also,
Brilliant.
I mean, who wouldn't be nervous?
And what is it going to be like? Is it going to be very strict conditions when she goes back? Will she have to wear a mask like here at the schools? They will have to wear masks all day long. Okay,
How's
yeah.
that going for the young? Because you have younger ones.
I know.
How's that go?
My son is 6, and well, the first day was hard, and then they adapt.
They're okay.
I think children handle it a lot better. I think actually the older children, the teenagers, are struggling more. They would rather do the homeschooling, the digi-school. Yeah, because the schooling it's quite radical. It's very different. And I think children have really missed their friends. That has been the hardest thing. So at least if they were back at school, even if they're masks, at least they're still around their friends. And they, my son came home today and he said, I made a new friend at school today. And I was like, wow, I don't know how, because there's no playground really happening. And that's fantastic. It's just great that he made a new friend at school.
It's so important though.
It was a girl. That was a shock. Like, and her name is Kate. Oh, interesting. Normally, he's always been very much a boy's boy, always playing with the boys. So that was interesting. Anyway,
that's
so
wonderful.
6, but it's cute. I'm really glad. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, they have to wear masks all the time, and that's fine. And I think until some students, I think, haven't been out and about, depending on where they live. So it's very easy to forget that the world is still going on. Like there are people who still work and, they're out, and you have risks, but that's what it is. And for me, a lot of it is weighing the mental health aspect and the physical, because for her to go back is really good for her mental health. Just there's so many things that
absolutely
I see the value in that. And if they move online and she can't do it, she'll be fine. They're so resilient. But for now, we're living in, she's going and she's ready. We are making masks. So
we're living through such an historical time. I mean, this is going to be remembered for all of our lives, when we're at the end of our lives, we'll remember this crazy year. Yes. Who would have thought going into 2020, this is what 2020 was going to look like? We were all, wow, new decade, let's go, 2020. And you have all these things that
so many plans.
Nobody envisaged this.
Well, my daughter was saying that she and her friends were saying, it's so weird because our generation doesn't have any major historic events. And this was like last year. So they're like, okay, well, I guess we have them now.
Yes. We can
1, 2, 3.
Done. It's amazing. Yeah. Okay. And so let's talk about future you. I want to hear about this vision. Okay. So future you is what you're going to step into. And what does future Christine look like? And are you already future you, actually? Because if that's what you're thinking and being and visualizing all the time, aren't you already future Christine?
Yeah, in ways. Yeah, we can get really deep, right? So, and that's the thing, is realizing when you have future you like that, you then have the knowledge of future you, which you then bring to here, and you can move forward from. But do you ever really meet future you? Because future you is always moving, right? So I feel like she's definitely part of me. I call her my internal GPS. She is my guiding. She is who I look to. She knows me better than anyone on this planet. She's the only person who's with me from the day I was born to the day I die. It's kind of morbid, but it's true. There's no promises with anything. So yeah, like she's kind of here and she's cool. And I think for everyone to find that, this is where I get my joy, is for watching women. Sometimes they get to this point of their lives. I mean, I'm almost, I said this out loud today. I was like, wow, I'm like a year within half a century on this earth. Like, that's crazy to think about that way. And it's very easy for people to think their kids disappear, or disappear. They go off to school or, anything happens. They think their life is over because motherhood ends, where it's like, we are just getting started. Like, we could have another 50 years. That's a lot of time to do a lot of incredible things.
It is a lot of time. Good point.
It's just, and then when you think about all the things you've done in the past and the things that you've learned, and you can pull it in a way that it doesn't stop you from moving forward, but just use what can move forward. It's so much fun. And I love watching women just discover who their dreams are, and they'll go through things where, this is what I want to do. I'm like, are you sure? Like, live in it. What does that look like? What time do you wake up? What do you do in the morning? What do you have for breakfast? Do you drive to work? Do you walk? Do you commute? How do you see that? And it's funny, when I challenge them, a lot of the times I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really like that idea. So then, like, they explore another one. It's so much fun. But then for them to find it and to start to live in it, and it is incredible. So yeah, amazing. Future Me does a lot of just helping other women to discover who they are, to get emotional health over their emotions, to control their own emotions, to realize the power that they have within them, that they totally are clueless that they have at this moment. And by that, they get to impact their family. And for me, I realized one day, it was actually She Podcast Live, where they said, go deeper. What else? And I was like, what's deeper than helping the rest of their family? And then I realized it has the ability to impact generations to come. Because when mom's cool, mom feels better, and she's a good example, then the kids do. And it just, like, how can you not be motivated?
I know. Right?
It's so exciting. And then there's little things, like for me, I'd wake up at 4 still, because I'll be used to it for that long. But instead of, doing this at that time, I'm going to go for long walks and go get coffee and then come back and coach. And a lot of fun visions.
Wonderful. And in your coaching, are there any other techniques that you use, or do you bring in a whole lot of different techniques that you know? Do you work differently with every person? Do you have a particular structure? How does it look when you do a coaching session? Or is that intel that we don't really want to share?
That's not really intel. I do. My basis is thought work. So a lot of times I'll just ask questions such as, what's your sticking point right now? And we see what comes out of that. And then we dive into what kind of thoughts are going on. And then I challenge them to question them, because sometimes they think that that's the truth. And to see the light bulb in their head go off, where, wait, I could think differently about this. It's like, yeah, you can. We do a lot of that. So while the tools that I use and the coaching, the way that I go about it is the same for everyone, it's going to be certain circumstances. And I've actually had a few people who aren't empty nesters jump in, and we've had fun too. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And have you ever worked with someone who, it wasn't an empty nest because they went off to college, but because maybe the child passed away, they had a child and they were grieving, and did you ever have to work with something like that?
I haven't yet, but I expect that will be in the near future, and I'm ready for that, because you just have a lot more of everything. It's just, and so much of this is processing through the emotions.
Yeah.
We are sad, and we just don't want to be sad. And by resisting the sadness, it just, the sadness becomes more. So a lot of it is processing through that, and getting rid of the guilt of you going on with your life.
Yes.
Which, That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But it's
A very
doable.
big
It's
one. Yeah.
doable. People do it all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And women are really amazing at reinventing themselves, especially in their 40s and 50s and even 60s, I mean 70s.
Yes.
Even my mom has reinvented herself in her 70s. It's just amazing to see how you can actually find new yous, completely new you,
Totally.
each decade, or yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And then of course when the grandchildren come, there's another whole transition that happens, isn't there?
Yes.
And maybe the great grandchildren. Yeah. So we all hope we can live that long and enjoy all of
Be
that.
lovely. I know.
Yeah. Okay, so highlights of motherhood for you. What was your greatest moment as a mom, if you can identify? I'm sure there were many.
Yeah, there's so many, but I think definitely when you challenged me on this question, I thought about it for like that one stopped me in my tracks when I originally read it. And I was like, what? I have so much pressure to pick one thing. But I really do think it was the day she graduated from high school.
So proud.
So many people just thought it wasn't going to be right for her. The irony is I can't tell you how many people told me that, her life was going to be ruined because she didn't have senior prom and she didn't have a big graduation. The irony of this last year is not lost on me because
nobody's having that.
Yeah. And and it was so unglamorous. We went to her evaluator's house and she signed the piece of paper and we sat in the car. It was like, you've graduated high school. But it was such a moment. It was there's so many obstacles to get to that point. And
can you imagine?
It still feels good thinking about it.
And does she feel great? I mean, is she at the age where she really knows how much you were involved in helping her get through that? Because I mean, I'm sure you the mom, you must have been so. Is she? Yeah. So she's able to voice that, and that must also be so amazing.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I feel in some ways, I think I got lucky in the fact that where most teenage daughters start to hate their mom. She went off to college early, right about that time. So she had to, like, when she missed home, she'd reach out to me and I didn't have that, Yeah. So we're very close.
And you'd built that bond in the homeschooling. Yeah. So, yeah.
And we've always just talked about things like,
that's so great.
Let's talk about it and figure out how are you feeling. And my parents joked once, they're like, do you ever raise your voice? I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. I don't really think about it, but there isn't that much worth raising my voice over. Like, what does it bring?
Amazing.
In life. Because usually when a child is upset, there's something they can't communicate well to you. And that's my fundamental belief is, when she's losing, when I'm trying to feed her medicine and she won't take it and she's screaming and kicking, there's something about it that is causing her issues and we have to navigate it. And it's awful for that moment in time, but you get to the other side. And now that she's older, she's like, yeah, Mom, I sometimes I just hate it so much, the taste, I can't even do it, but they can't tell you that when they're young. So
my answer to that was just to not give him that horrible stuff. We just switched. I decided, no ways, I'm not giving him antibiotics, I'm not giving him any allopathic. I gave him homeopathic, and that's all he's had, and he loves it. He doesn't want to have that ghastly stuff.
I was also one of those crazy parents who gave their kids kid pay. I don't know if you've heard of this. And I remember reading it in the homeschooling. Yeah. It's like when she was young, we'd give her a set amount. And for her age, it was a lot of money. And this is your money for the month. And you'd have to give, 1% to charity, so much percent to this, some for education. Never had a temper tantrum in the store. Like the first few times she would be like, can I get that? And I'd say, did you bring your money? Which is ridiculous when you look back and see how little she was, like, bring your money. And she's like, no. I'm like, well, then next time. But it has paid off.
Wow.
It has paid off.
That's amazing.
Something she bought, it was with her money and the fund money. And, it was not the best choice in my mind. That was for her to figure out. And
Wow.
It was one of the better things looking back that I was like, it was good.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have started that a while back.
It's not too late.
It's not too late. 6 is young. Yeah, we should do that.
I think
It's
she
a
was
great
5 or
one.
6 when we started.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, they're old enough. And they can work out all the numbers and then,
Yes.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, okay, that's a great idea. I love it.
I don't think you asked me about that at all,
Yeah.
but I'll just rabbit trail.
That's perfect. We allowed to go off topic. Women always go off topic. We'll just steer away from politics and the pandemic.
Yes, please.
Because no, not fun. Not a fun conversation at all.
Yes.
Okay, so we got the highlights. So, and what was the most difficult thing about parenting or motherhood for you?
I think it was what we touched on earlier, was that finding somebody who understood what I was going through in the moment, where you have so many,
the parenting itself.
I think you in the moments things were really bad about it, but not having a support system out of the gate, and when the people closest to you don't understand what you're doing was probably one of the most difficult things over and over. It's like, okay, well, we got past the homeschooling one. Now it's she's going to skip another grade, and here comes all the comments, and being able to be like, okay, we're still on our path. And to realize that when people are so upset about your choices, it has absolutely nothing to do with your choices. It has everything to do with the fact that you choosing something different and being in their face, they're now questioning their choices. But it took me years to be able to get it that way and not take it personally.
True. And your top piece of advice for moms out there who are going through their empty nest process, or
well, for any mom, but especially and it could be not so empty nest, because a lot of our kiddos are not going back to college.
Maybe we should do 2 separate ones.
I know.
Having them home when you expected them to be gone.
I think the best piece of advice, if I could only give one, is definitely to start to notice the thoughts going on in your head, and the thoughts that you have about yourself. If you can notice them and start to be kinder, because most mothers are brutal to themselves in their head. They think their choices that they made to get their kid to this point, if only they had done something differently, everything would have been fixed. And if they can just show love to themselves as much as they do to their own children, things are going to get better. So just watch what you say. Don't bully yourself. Be kind, and show yourself grace and mercy.
So it's a self-care message, but particularly on the thoughts. It's what you're saying, your inner.
Yes. Yeah. It's the stuff that you have to catch yourself saying when you walk away from someone. Like, what did I just say about myself? And, if I wouldn't say that comment out loud to another human being, why am I saying it to myself? You look in the mirror and I'm fat. I've gained 40 pounds since my child went to school. I shouldn't have done that. Well, you wouldn't say that to another woman. So why would you say it to yourself? Instead, your body's beautiful. It has gotten you this far, and move forward. So just catch those things and be kind, process through emotions.
Awesome. And your best advice for entrepreneurs who want to follow the podcasting path?
So the podcasting, probably with anything, is to figure out who your future self is and to trust her more than the 200 experts out there. And I'm not saying don't use the experts. I just think you need to evaluate the experts based on who you are, because what they have to offer may not make sense for you in your life. And if you don't know where you're headed long term, it's very difficult. Well, it's very easy to jump from one to the other and think, this is going to be my solution this month, and this is my solution this month. So if you know where you're headed and you know that certain things work for you, then you can kind of use that to filter through all of the shiny objects that are out there, and trust yourself. So just trust yourself there. For podcasting, if you want to podcast, the technical stuff is out there. You can figure that out, but really consistency. Pick something that you're going to be consistent with. So whether you want to do weekly or monthly, if you can do it consistent and people start to expect it, that's the best thing, because it might seem like a lot in 6 months, but when you're at year 2 and you're looking back at everything you've done, you suddenly have this huge archive of things that you've done and people can reference. It's so much fun.
Wow. Wow. Yes. Amazing. And I mean, you really have a wonderful podcast and you've been incredibly consistent. Yeah. I mean, kudos to you.
That was the message I heard early on. Yeah. Consistent. I'm like, I got that. I can do that.
Yeah, you did it. Yeah. And I remember you saying to me that with the YouTube as well, when I started branching out into YouTube, you said, just remember, be prepared for the slow build. And I thought, hey, but people seem to everything seems to go faster here, but you're right. It's just as slow on YouTube as everything else.
It is. Oh, and that's like my other advice. I totally forgot about that, is when you find that thing you want to do, right? And you're like, that's what I want to do. And you think you're going to get to it in 6 months or a year. And I really believe in this now, especially, is that if you double that amount of time, double it again, triple it, and whatever that number is, and you're still excited about the idea, then you're in really good shape, because it's going to be you're going to have highs and lows, and it's going to take longer than you expect. Now you might hit it in the 6 months, but that's bonus then. So once you realize you're still okay with that long haul time, then you still shoot for the 6 months, but you're not going to like walk away and give up everything if you're on month 7, because you're ready to do it for 5-10 years. And you're like, that's where I'm good.
Amazing. Yes. Amazing. So this
crazy is amazing.
No, it's fantastic. I wonder what will be. And I mean, if you think the podcast didn't really exist, I mean, you say you've been listening to podcasts for 20 years. So they've been around for 20 years at least.
I forget the number. I'm awful with numbers.
I know. I'm actually also, it's not my thing.
I want to say 2013 was when I started actually doing stuff with it. So, but they've been around
7 years. Yeah. So podcasts, I think, have been around like maybe 10 years or so, I suppose. So we don't know what's coming. We have no idea what's coming. And isn't that exciting? I mean, this whole TikTok is the latest. Who knew that was going to come?
Yeah, but it might be shut down, and it proves the importance of having your own
platform,
email list, and your own platform.
Everything's on your website. I love that. I love how you've got everything on your site. You've got your email list. You're doing it all
slower,
right? Yeah.
But a lot of times too, people will be like, "I'll show you how to get 100,000 followers in 2 months because I did it." When then you look back and see, well, yeah, they did it, but they had transferred from another business that had 500,000 people that they just brought with them. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Do your due diligence.
Nothing is instant. If there's anything I've learned, I mean, being a digital entrepreneur is exactly the same as any other kind of entrepreneur. It is not instant. Rome isn't built in a day. You've got to take your time, do it properly, and be consistent. And you're doing it. And I love what you're doing. And I hope everybody goes to listen to your podcast. So for everyone listening, it is Your Empty Nest Coach. Well, Your Empty Nest.
Empty Nest Coach, yep.
Yeah, Your Empty Nest Coach. Is that the whole, yes, .com.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah. But of course, there will be links. There will be links below the video, below this podcast, this video, in the blog, etc. It's been so divine talking to you. It's been
you too, Lauren. This has been so much fun.
It's been so great. So we're going to say bye for now.
Okay.
Bye,
everyone.
Bye, everyone.